Yeah. At least I can give it.
Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You get like snow. Absolutely.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the roll, please.
Mayor Bailey,
Here.
Mr. Bateman,
Here.
Mr. Goodyear,
Here.
Mr. Hart,
Here. Here.
Vice Mayor Phelps,
Here.
Mr. Ping.
Here.
Welcome, everyone. With us tonight, we have our Assistant City Manager, Chris Weinich, Director of Finance, Mark Medler, Clerk of Council, Misty Clark, City Manager, Dave Kennedy, City Solicitor, Joe Braun, Fire Chief, Ott Huber, Police Chief, Michael Gabrielson, Marketing and Communications Director, Krista Rose, Coordinator, Chris, forget it. Prior council members, Kent Blair and Pat Mays. He's not. I don't see him. And also many esteemed members of our police department. So welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here tonight. Let's get right to the our new officers.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, City staff, everybody that's here tonight. A fantastic night for Loveland Police Department. It's always great when we can introduce two new officers to our newest employees to the city. I'll introduce first. We have Mr. Ben Markham, soon-to-be Officer Markham, here in just a couple of seconds. Ben comes to Loveland with nearly 6 years of experience. He started in law enforcement with Clay Township, then moved to Five Rivers Metro Parks, each in Montgomery County. He has experience as an evidence technician, property manager, in criminal investigations, field training, and first-line supervision. Ben has a bachelor's degree from the University of Cincinnati in criminal justice and minors in psychology, forensics, populations, whatever that is, and religious studies. Ben is supported tonight by his wife, Kylie, right? Okay. They have a 19-month-old who's asleep at home and another daughter on the way, which you should have reversed that and had your babysitter keep her up so she slept when you got home. Ben spends most of his downtime with his family, friends, and watching football, and I refuse to list the team that he supports. So tonight, Kylie will be pinning his badge here shortly. We also have Brandon Wilson. Brandon has been a police officer for 6 years, beginning with the village of Woodlawn before moving to Colerain Township. He has experience in field training, criminal investigations, property manager, and first-line supervision. Brandon is supported tonight by his fiancée, Megan, their children, Liam. What did I say? There you go. Julian, Demi, Wyatt, Camden, and Oliver.
Wow.
His sister Ashley and several other family and friends are here in support of him. Outside of work, Brandon stays busy with, again, Liam, Julian, Demi, Wyatt, Camden, Oliver. And tonight, Megan will be pinning the badge. So we're just super excited to have them on board. They've already jumped in, helped us out, and while they're just in their training phase right now, the first administrative phase, they've already jumped in, helped us out on a few things. So just two great additions to the police department. So congratulations, gentlemen, and welcome. Mayor, I will let you go ahead and official duties.
All right, I shall. First, welcome, gentlemen. We're very glad to have you as part of our police department. I think I speak for council and our community that we are very proud of our police department and every member in our department. We think we have an outstanding group of individuals, and I'm sure you two will fit right in. And I'd like to think that the current members of our police department would attest to the fact that you will get a lot of support from this council and from this community. We appreciate you bringing your experience and your skills to the city of Loveland. I think you'll have a nice, long, hopefully, career here. And this is not personal. I say this to everyone, but I think it applies even more to our men and women in uniform, such as yourselves, that we sort of take serious that you represent this city and this council and the community members, and both on and off duty. And we hope that you wear the word City of Loveland on your person proudly. And we hope that you're proud to be part of this community. We look forward to the great things that you accomplish while you're here. Thanks for being here. Are we ready? Let's do this, and we'll do this together. Raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Red Martin,
Solemnly swear that I will
solemnly swear that I will
support the Constitution of the United States,
support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and the Charter and ordinances
and the Charter and ordinances
of the City of Loveland,
of the City of Loveland,
and will obey the laws thereof,
and will obey the laws thereof,
and will faithfully discharge
and will faithfully discharge
the duties of police officer
the duties of police officer
upon which I'm about to enter.
upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations.
That's why probably will pin his badge. If you would turn just a little bit so we can get a photo here, because we want to make sure that we get that.
It's more easy. Put you on the spot.
You want me to go first? It's up to you. I'm just excited to be here.
No, we have to be able to hear you. Come
Oh,
on
I'm
up
sorry.
there.
Sorry. Mic check. Okay. I'm excited to be here. I've worked for a couple of departments, but I think I've found home. I appreciate everybody coming out to support me, and I'm excited for my new journey.
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody. Thank especially my wife for coming out and pinning me. I can definitely say after just 1 week, I can attest to what was spoken, and I can see a lot of support for this department from this city, and I continue to look forward to seeing more support, and I hope I serve you all well. So.
Yes.
Welcome.
Welcome aboard.
Hello again.
Welcome aboard. Congratulations. Glad you're here. Welcome. Glad you're here.
You figure out.
Hear that. Welcome.
Good to see you again. Welcome, Loveland.
Congratulations, both of you
Welcome
guys.
to City. Welcome, Loveland. Welcome to City.
You want to? Should we do it in front or back?
No.
Front.
Whatever I say should be out. That's it.
The white angle.
So, we're gonna have to squeeze in after that.
All right. Well, why don't we get this with the family?
Family.
All right.
Oh. How about that? Oh man.
Pretty catchy.
That'd be really good if I do a re-election.
Oh.
So I was like, I wanted to tell you one thing, child. When I was a young kid.
Well, this looks clearly placed.
Oh, yeah. Coach of the Celebrate in every way possible.
Exactly.
Because as I said, I can't.
Not everybody. Not everybody's got.
You know what?
Oh, we did it. We did it. We did it. That was a look. I like how they were all in their
Yes.
right shirts and everything.
They wore their striped shirts, they're matching.
Really nice photo.
Yeah.
Yes. That's a Christmas card.
5 children under 7.
Woo,
Man. Golly. I mean, isn't that household in 10 years? Besides eating out of the closet.
Yeah, right. Oh, yeah,
You have to really become.
Can we close the doors?
Can we go to the next thing? You want to, Misty? Do you want to speak next?
Yes.
Always. Oh no, you're there. Perfect. Exactly. Go out of order. All right. We've got Krista Rose, our marketing and communications coordinator. Perfect.
Okay, well, thank you for having me tonight. I just want to quickly touch on our new alert system that the city has unveiled. For background, we did have an alert system previously. It was lacking in some ways. I would say that it couldn't necessarily compete with 2024 technology, and it had subscriber limits. So it was very much time to upgrade. We needed something that could be more flexible to send routine and emergency notifications to our residents. And I hate to bring it up, but after the boil water advisory we had at the end of August, it was very clear that we needed to do something. So I worked with Assistant City Manager Weinich, and we selected Civic Ready. That is a solution through our website provider, Civic Plus. The system will allow us to send those emergency and routine notifications that we need to send. They can be sent by text message, email, phone calls. Keep in mind, though, that residents have to opt in for this service, and it's a free service. Examples of this for emergency situations that could relate to water emergencies like a boil advisory. It could be an evacuation order, a shelter-in-place order. It could be missing persons. For non-emergency reminders, some examples could be a park closure. Right now we're doing leaf and brush collection. It could be a reminder about that. It could even be an event reminder. We have a big event coming up this weekend. But basically, when a resident signs up, there'll be a whole list of these categories, and they can pick exactly what they want to get. So it's customizable to them. They're only opting in for the news they want to receive. Also, we are encouraging residents to enter their address. When they enter their address, we can send alerts specific to their location. So, for instance, if we have a water main break on West Loveland Avenue and our water customers in this area might notice brown water, we could just send an alert to folks on West Loveland Avenue. So hopefully, again, as far as notifications go, this helps keep our residents calmer and they feeling more informed. And then I also want to just touch on real quickly that this system gives us capabilities we've never had before in emergency situations. In a true emergency, we'll be able to partner with FEMA's data and access white and yellow pages to actually make phone calls to residents with listed phone numbers. So that could allow us to reach maybe elderly customers we've never had the chance to reach before, customers without internet access. So I'm a little bit excited about this in a nerdy way. I think that hopefully it's something we never have to use. But I do feel like in the case of a true emergency, the city is more prepared than we ever have been before. So really, I just want to thank you for putting your trust in me to get this system set up for the city. And from here on out, it's just going to be encouraging residents to sign up and take advantage of it. But do you have any questions?
Any questions?
Comments?
Mr. Hart?
Yeah. First and foremost, I commend you for getting this out
Thank
so
you.
quick. I mean, this is very responsive in terms of the situation we had before and making sure we're having a resolution for our residents quickly. Who is responsible for sending information out? Who has the ability to send information out through that system?
That's a great question. Currently, it's myself, our assistant city manager, and then we still need to train some additional backups.
And then my other question was, do we need to do, or are we doing any type of push to have residents sign up for this?
Yes. So it was just included, a notice was included in the September water bill. Another mail notice will be going out in the November print newsletter. It's been announced on our website. It's been announced on social media. The utilities department, they'll be making mention of this when water customers call in. And also, I should note, with our old system, we had about 500 subscribers. And within the last week of me announcing this, we have about 2,000 subscribers with the new system. So we are already significantly ahead from where we were before.
That's great. Thanks for your work on this.
Thank you. Thanks.
If you were a subscriber to the previous system, does it map over or do you have to re-register?
Yes, so that's also a great question. All of our previous subscribers were sent over to the new system. They have the ability, they can go in and they can update what categories they'd like to subscribe to. But we didn't lose any data per se.
Mr. Ori?
Krista, I went on to the website this morning, or yesterday, I guess it was. And first thing that popped up was the window that, time to update. And I'll tell you what, it was fantastic. It was everything migrated over. I was able to update some information, added my address and all. But I think the way you've put it on the Facebook, or not on Facebook, on the website, because every time you either change or screens, it pops up again until you do it. So good job.
Thank you.
Very, very good.
Thanks.
All right. Anyone else? All right. Well done. Thank you.
Thanks.
Is this you, Mrs. Clark?
This is me. I'm
Okay.
letting Krista off the hook on this one. So this being leap year, the city planned a new event. It's going to be held this Saturday. It's called Return of the Frogman. And we've had a lot of businesses and local organizations kind of jump in with us. So I'll go through some of the activities that are planned this Saturday. Love Our Land is going to release a new children's book called Josie and Doug, An Adventure with the Loveland Frogman. Hops and Berry is going to host the Frogman Classic Arm Wrestling Tournament. Our Loveland Frogman will make appearances for photo ops. The Loveland Stage Company is hosting the Lily Pad Kids Zone from 4 to 6. Bike Trail Books is going to have frog-themed story times at the top of each hour from 4 to 6. The city asked Loveland students, kindergarten through high school, to donate artwork for a scavenger hunt, and they came through. Really adorable stuff. So families can search downtown to find the Frogman, and prizes will be awarded to those who find the most. You can go to the Whistle Stop Clay Works and make Frogman pottery. Love Our Land also arranged for the movie Frogman. There is a movie to be played at the Loveland Stage Company at 8:30. Cappy's is going to have a band later in the evening called Chucky's in Love. Not related, but still fun. Our our restaurants and bars are going to be offering frog themed cocktails, and our boutiques will have frog merchandise and frogman merchandise for you to look at. The city planned a block party on Railroad Avenue, so we'll have DJ and karaoke there. We'll have a mobile escape room. The Railway Barber Shop is hosting a Frogger Face-Off arcade tournament, so you can test your 80s Frogger skills. Let's Glow Crazy will be there selling green light up accessories. We also have the Ben Morrison Foundation and the Isaac Walton League will be there to host some festival games. We'll have cornhole and tic-tac-toe and checkerboards that our Public Works Department made for us. We'll have those out. A couple food trucks, and we'll be selling limited edition t-shirts. Some council has some of those tonight.
They're really cute.
One thing we did plan and we're really excited about is we planned a comedy hop. So later in the evening, it starts at 8 o'clock. We have 15 comedians lined up in 5 different locations. And starting at Cappy's at 6:30 p.m., you can go and watch a free comedy show. And then we have 2 other times, 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock. You can go to 4 other locations to watch comedians. Bishop's Quarter in their Barrel Room, Loveland Station Community Room, Rose Boutique and Wine Bar, and the Works Rail Car. And all of that's free. You have to get there in time to get a seat. That's the only trick to it. But we're really looking forward to it, and we plan on doing this event every 4 years to coincide with leap year.
Very good. And as usual, you ordered up a perfect weather day Saturday.
Got lucky, yeah.
So I think this will be a fun event. Come on out. Anybody have any comments or questions? All right. Thank you. Now, Mr. Latham, Warren County Park District CEO.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity to come here to Loveland and introduce you to Warren County Park District. You all know Loveland is a very, very uniquely situated in 3 counties here in Ohio. And you're probably familiar with Great Parks of Hamilton County, Claremont County Park District, but you may not have heard of Warren County Park District. So we're here to introduce that tonight. And let's see. Here we go. So just a little bit about us. We manage a little over 1,700 acres across Warren County, including 19 properties, 13 of those which are open to the public, and 6 that are sort of set aside for future parks that are currently serving as conservation areas. Our most popular parks in Warren County are Armco Park, just between Monroe and Lebanon, right on 741, and Landon Deerfield Park on 22 and 3 in Mainville. And, we offer the great outdoors. We provide access for people to get out into nature and then let Mother Nature take it from there. So all sorts of different activities offered within the Park District, including some that were, are kind of unique to us, which are like our boat rental operation and executive golf course, both available up at Armco Park. Just like other park districts in the state of Ohio, we are governed by a 3-member board of park commissioners that are pictured up here, and those commissioners are appointed by the county probate judge. In terms of how we're funded, we get about half of our funding from a pass-through grant from the county commissioners. And we are very grateful for our partnership with the county commissioners, who are not under any legal or contractual obligation to give us any money. And then about the other half is generated by our revenue producing concessions at Armco Park. So our golf course, our softball complex, boat rental, shelters, etc. So that park almost pays for itself through those operations. Warren County Park District is unique in park districts of its size because it does not have its own property tax levy. So park districts in general focus on natural resource conservation, nature education, and outdoor recreation. And the unique strengths that park districts bring to the table. Generally, we are providers of large regional green space areas, and we offer mostly passive recreation in nature. You're hiking, cycling, running, fishing, boating, those kinds of things. But countywide park districts have unique abilities to reach across jurisdictional boundaries, one of the things that we're doing tonight. And so that we can work to help different jurisdictions think regionally about how to plan regional trail connections and green space. And, I'm in a place where I'm preaching to the choir when it comes to the importance of those regional trail connections. Warren County Park District right now is working on a strategic plan. We are taking a look at reassessing ourselves and, really trying to drill down into what's our mission, what's our vision, and what do we uniquely have to offer. One of the things that a lot of people have noticed is that there are many different types of entities that are out there offering parks and park services. You got your cities and your townships, you've got the state parks, many different players in that field. So what do park districts, and Warren County Park District in particular, bring to the table that sets it apart so that we don't compete with, but rather complement what the great work that others are doing? That's one of the goals of our strategic plan. And to that end, we are honing in on mission and vision statements for the Park District up here on the screen. So, we're about enhancing our community's well-being by preserving quality natural areas where all are invited to discover and experience the great outdoors. And, I'm still working on trying to memorize it, but I will get there soon. As I mentioned before, there are other park districts in the area that you are probably familiar with, some of them pictured up here that I've mentioned previously. And as part of our strategic planning effort, we are working on comparing ourselves to park districts that are similarly situated in Ohio, that serve counties of a similar population size to Warren County. So you'll notice that Metro Parks of Butler County is really the only one that kind of fell in the range of our comparables. Great Parks of Hamilton County and Five Rivers Metro Parks really are just too big for us to compare ourselves to be fair. But when we look at those park districts that serve similarly sized counties, we see that right now Warren County Park District is trailing the pack in terms of the amount of land that it is preserving for the benefit of residents. And also in terms of the funding that we have available to steward that land, we also trail the pack. So we recognize that there's a lot of work that needs to be done so that we can bring ourselves up to a place where we're providing comparable services to similar counties across Ohio. But we have a lot of great assets in Warren County. There are actually 29 political jurisdictions in Warren County. So we think that that having a countywide park district allows us, again, to reach across those boundaries and think regionally. Also, there are plenty of great green space assets in Warren County. So again, another opportunity to think regionally about how we can connect those things together so that they begin to function as a network. I don't really need to spend a whole lot of time on the benefits of parks here because this city really embodies that in terms of how the Little Miami Scenic Trail has really transformed Loveland and made it a model for other communities to model themselves after. But really, the benefits to health are well documented in studies. And then, of course, the economic benefits that you all are living through right now because of the great forethought and planning that was done over decades to get this city to where it is today. So anyway, we are in the middle of our strategic plan process. We just wrapped up our focus groups and our statistically valid survey. And we are currently drafting our first draft of that plan, and we're going to go around and actually that schedule has slid a little bit. So in the first quarter of 2025, we're going to be going around and to 5 different locations in the county and holding open houses so that people can react to our draft plan, tell us what we're doing well, what we've missed, and then get that final phase of input so that we can finally nail down that strategic plan and get it adopted by the board, and then move forward to a really bright future. So the one question that I want to leave you all with tonight is, how can we partner with you to achieve common goals? And with that, I thank you for your time and attention, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Latham. Does anybody have any questions? Yes, Mr. Bateman.
Thank you for coming in. I really appreciate the visits we have from our neighbors in Warren County, and as a I haven't done it so much lately, but a former disc golf enthusiast, I have come to appreciate the vastness of Warren County's resources when it comes to open spaces and disc golf and like passive recreation, as you said. I guess what I would just say is, from our perspective, I think, Loveland, you're hitting on it a lot, that we are fortunate for a lot of reasons, benefactors of geography and history in terms of where we are today. But certainly I think, value the green space that surrounds our borders as well. And so I certainly appreciate you coming to share how we can help to build a sort of recreational green network around this region to make sure that that it spreads throughout where we are. So if there's any opportunity to learn about how we might help promote more passive recreation around the Warren County area, closer down to Loveland, I think that would be something that I'd be very much in support of. So thanks.
Very good. We're looking for more opportunities. I think, the Little Miami Scenic Trail is a great spine through the county. We have 33 miles of it in Warren County. But it can be a little difficult to access. There's only a few places where you can park, where you can access restroom facilities, things of that nature. So providing more of those access points, and also feeder trails that feed into that network, so that you could conceivably just walk out your front door and access the trail instead of having to drive somewhere. Those are goals that we kind of have in mind, to your point.
Or just to follow up on that, even like with the cycling groups and the folks that it might not be green space per se, or park space, I should say, but I think that most folks that use Loveland as a hub for cycling are typically heading north and east into Warren and Claremont County to sort of participate in that. So anything we can do to sort of protect that value proposition is that I think we're all on board.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Latham. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Sherry Hamlin.
Good evening, Council. My name is Sherry Hamlin. I'm at 118 Cannonade Drive in Loveland. I am here tonight representing several Loveland residents that oppose the demolition of 200 Railroad Avenue. I'm collectively referring to these individuals as we in the following comments. Earlier today, we received notice that an appeal and request to delay demolition of 200 Railroad Avenue was granted. I wanted to first say thank you for this and explain in open forum and for the benefit of the public why we seek this extension. Preserving this historic structure is not just about saving one building. It's about protecting the heritage and character of Loveland's historic district for generations to come. First, I'd like to highlight the procedural error that occurred during the approval process. The certificate of appropriateness incorrectly identified the property as 204 Railroad Avenue instead of 200 Railroad Avenue. This misidentification led to a decision being made based on inaccurate information, which undermines the transparency and validity of the process. Before making such a consequential decision, it's essential that we operate with clarity and precision. Secondly, this building holds significant historical value. While the structure is currently listed as being built in 1915, we have reason to believe it may have been constructed even earlier. We are in the process of pulling historical deeds to confirm its age and its heritage as a railroad worker's home, which would further establish its role in Loveland's history as a key part of the city's development. This additional research will provide the context needed to evaluate the building's true significance, and the extension granted will allow more time to complete that research. Beyond its historical value, we must consider the impact on the community. Residents have repeatedly voiced concerns that tearing down the structure would set a dangerous precedent for other historic properties in the district. This building contributes to the unique architectural and cultural narrative of Railroad Avenue, and losing it would disrupt the cohesive aesthetic that defines our historic district. Once these pieces of our history are gone, they cannot be replaced. Lastly, it's important to note that there have been no comprehensive feasibility studies exploring alternatives to demolition. Best practice and preservation recommend that every effort be made to assess rehabilitation or adaptive reuse options before considering demolition. We should not be rushing into a decision when there could be viable, cost-effective options to restore this building and preserve our city's heritage. In conclusion, thank you for the extension that has been granted. This additional time allows us the opportunity to complete the research necessary to fully understand this property's history and significance. Preserving 200 Railroad Avenue is about safeguarding Loveland's legacy and ensuring that our historic district remains a source of pride and identity for our community. Let us take the time needed to make an informed decision that respects our past and guides our future. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Jen Jerome.
Hello, thank you, Mayor Bailey and Council, for giving me a few minutes. I just wanted to introduce myself. I am running for the 28th District State Rep position. You are in the 28th District as of January 1. As many of you know, they redistrict again, so you were 27, and as of January 1 going forward will be 28th District. I am a mother of 9 grown adult children. My husband and I have owned a small business in Madeira for 25 years, the Catholic Shop. Served a lot of people from many faiths in that capacity. And I'm a registered nurse and have been for 40 years, which means I graduated from nursing school when I was 12. So, no, I'm going to get away with that. But a lot of people ask me why I decided to run. And honestly, I was so busy raising children. I was very involved in, we counted 15 different schools throughout the years of all our children going to school, and got to know a lot of parents, a lot of people with backgrounds and opinions different than mine. I've always been a problem solver, thinking outside the box, and a strategic thinker. But it really bothered me about 5 years ago when they started to desecrate the flag, desecrate public monuments, our history. I was raised, and I believe to be true, that we are one nation under God and one state under God. And so I believe if we can restore respect to the individual rights in the Constitution and belief again in our schools, that it's going to be a better Ohio for all of us. The extreme ideology of the Democrats very much concerned me and propelled me forward to run. This is my second attempt to become state rep, and I'm hoping that we can flip this seat. It looks very promising. With all the background I have in nursing, many areas of medical, surgery, infectious disease, I believe in religious and medical freedom for individuals, the Second Amendment and the Constitution being very paramount to us having a healthy Ohio. And so as a parent of 9 grown children, I want Ohio to be an even better place where the prices are going to come down. They can make a living. They can buy housing. All these things are very doable. And the last thing I'll mention is horrible story out of Texas about a Venezuelan gang this morning that broke into a home of a 50-year-old. And you actually used Google Translation because they couldn't speak English to tell her if she didn't cooperate, they would cut off her fingers. And they were caught after stealing $75,000 worth of goods. That is my concern because Ohio is at risk every bit as much as Texas. And I believe we need to find out where our illegals are, and we need to make sure our residents are safe. And so it is my hope that 1 month from today, I will be calling Mayor Bailey to try and sit down and talk about the needs of Loveland and how I can best advocate for you all up at the State House. So thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, next is review and approval of the minutes from the September 24th, 2024 meeting. Are there any additions or changes?
Make a motion to approve them.
Thank
Second.
you. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Mr. Goodyear?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Ori?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Ping?
Yes.
Mayor Bailey?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Mr. Kennedy?
So, we have legislation tonight to begin what I believe would probably be the largest single building construction project the city has taken on, as we bring forth to council legislation to begin the construction of Fire Station 63, our new downtown fire station. I mentioned last time we were together, this process has been going on for 4 years, over 4 years. And along the way, we've been to council multiple times. As we recall, there was actually a fire station a committee put together by council who served a purpose, who put together a recommendation. So since that recommendation, that led to an acquisition of a property, and then a fire station was designed within the very unique one of the unique part of this station, largely rear entry, which allowed this a fire station that fits into the very unique neighborhood that is down there on East Loveland, but also allows it to utilize the width of the property with pull-through bays because of how it abuts O'Bannon. City Council along the way, along with the funding, you also approved improvements on O'Bannon. You've been multiple stops before it got to where we are today. Well, since the property was acquired, the structure was removed, the fire station was completely designed, tweaked, redesigned, finalized. The input from Chief Huber and his staff about how not only is it a structure, but it's a structure that clearly improves fire operations, because first and foremost, that's what it's all about, improving public safety to the city residents. We're at a point now where the project was publicly bid, publicly advertised, bids opened. We had 7 bidders on the project with base bids ranging from $5,488,000 to $6,177,812. 3 teams, the USDA, who's been our funding partner for this project for about a year and a half, almost 2 years. MSA Design, who did the design, did the construction, did the bidding package, and so on and so forth. And our own team, Chief Huber, myself, Chris Weinich, we did obviously a very deep dive into these bids. Spoke to some other neighboring cities who have used contractors for various projects. And at the end of the day, it is the city's obligation for us to bring to you what we consider the lowest, most responsive and responsible bidder, which is what we're bringing forth to you today with the recommendation that the city secure a contract with Graybach LLC. Graybach LLC recently did Lebanon West fire station in Lebanon and Westchester, and did a police station up in Monroe. We've done some background information and glowing reports from construction and on the project. So if you look at the base bid package, which is on packet page 11, it's figure 2 in the memo. There wasn't a whole lot of unique bunch of alternates in this bid. What you're seeing there was to leave open the opportunity of what is underground. We know it's underground where we removed the structure and that, but the balance of the property limits, there's a 1,200 cubic yards of fill to either be removed or not be removed and put back in with engineer fill. So they each contractor was required to give us a unit price to remove and refill that. So the way that works is really simple. If there's none that has to be removed, the city will get a full credit. For Graybach, it'd be 57.59 times 1,200. Any that's used, anything that goes over, would come out of the contingency plan. The only add-on that alternate bid that true alternate bid that the city included was the lobby area. The alternative that the lobby area would not have, instead of concrete floors, would have tile floors. That was what you see with alternate 1. for Graybach LLC, that was an addition of $10,129. As we discussed when we talked about this project, it is all about fire operations. It's very unique. Rooms used for multiple purposes. A lot of that came in with Chief Huber's design. If there's one very unique, speaking of history, of course, the display of the original fire horse-drawn pumper, which was just recently meticulously restored. If any of you've seen that area, that will be on display in the front part of this building. So we have got to a point here where we feel very comfortable, all of us involved, going forward with Graybach LLC. The base bid plus the alternate brings the recommendation to $5,573,514. That's the way the legislation is written. From a funding standpoint, the city was funded. If you recall, we were funded $8,307,000 from the USDA at 3.5% interest loan. So what we're doing now is this number game. By USDA requirements and just common sense requirements, we're going to you take that base bid and add a 10% contingency on it. So the city in the very beginning had two options with this funding with USDA. We could get interim financing, which we would use throughout the life of the project, 15 months at XYZ interest rate. That interest rate would be added into the loan. And then when we have that final number, the project cost X, we would use USDA funding and close on that amount. Well, we don't feel there's that's a safety net if there was a lot of unknowns in this project. What are we going to get here? So on and so forth. We feel, but the thing is that the added interest rate gets added onto the project. So we feel pretty comfortable that we can narrow this number. At the time of my memo, I had it at $6,165,473. That included the contingency and the construction supervision. I will say throughout the entire process, the city has had the ability, if so choose, to take reimbursements for a myriad of expenditures that have occurred during the 4-year process. And as we said in the very beginning, our goal is to keep this project right at what it takes for construction, for what the fire funds will pay off this loan over the course of that process. So with that, we're holding true with that. So the end number will vary a little bit from what I put in my memo. We're still working the details because I got to find that number. I certainly, because we are closing with USDA, we're closing, there's your number. So I don't want it to be too high and I don't want it to be too low. That's the flip side to not taking the interim financing, which the interest rates were not good. And all of that interest rate, even being thrown into the loan, was a good thing. So the way City Council approved the USDA funding, you're giving me the option, working with Chief Huber and Chris Weinich, to come up with that number, and we're zeroing in on that, working with Joe and Brenda Weimer. So with that in mind, and I'm going to just go ahead and open this up for questions, the legislation authorizes the city manager to execute a contract with Graybach LLC. We're finalizing the contract. It has to be reviewed and approved by USDA. Chris and I went ahead and reached out to Graybach. They are very excited. Actually Chris and I spoke to the founder of the company. If we have as much success as some of our neighboring communities had with this company, I think this will be a wonderful project. And we'll be finishing up the abandoned improvements here soon. And I think that's all I really had. If anybody had any questions.
Any questions, Chief? Do you have anything else to add?
No, thank you, Mayor. I think the city manager covered it pretty well.
All right. Anybody have any questions, comments?
Well, can you just speak generally about the funding that will not only receive, but what are ongoing income and streams for covering the cost?
So when the city calculates levies, and Chief Huber knows this better than anyone, they basically have a shelf life of around 5, and we budget for 7, right, Chief? And there's some unknowns here. Obviously, there's a net money funding coming based on what the city moves forward with the fires, with the existing fire station. I would say that I don't know, no bones about it. We've had the existing fire station with a realtor for a while, and there is a considerable interest in that building. And I'm just going to say part of that interest is because of how the building has been maintained. And if you recall, was maybe 2.5 years ago, I know Mr. Blair was on council at the time, the city invested in a new roof for that structure. That was a good investment. That was a white, if you recall, energy efficient. That only adds to that building. But if you actually look at it, the commercial grade kitchen, the flooring, the general structure has been properly maintained. So that is a TBD on what that number is. But the fire funds over the course of this loan can make the payments. There's no added, I would say it's a bit of a wash, any decrease in maintenance costs for the existing building versus any increases on the new structure would probably be a wash based upon more energy efficiency and so on and so forth. But the fire funds, without the need of any new levies until such time as they would come naturally, can certainly make this a process. And I would applaud City Council. And I know Chief Huber applauds City Council too, because by using the money that you used towards the fire station and not requiring additional debt for the new fire truck and not requiring additional debt for the fire truck really was a game changer in allowing to sort of tee this up so this all fits within the financial parameters of LSFD, and that's pretty key. So if you look at the CIP that's coming forth, that Chris and I will be bringing forth to the city soon, you'll see no large expenditure for the fire department till ambulance in, I believe, in 2028. Sorry, Chief, if that was 27, but 27, 28 is the next. We don't have any major purchases until that time. There has been some added revenue that comes in through EMS runs, some other things that have all sort of helped get this to where we're at today.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? All right, we'll go ahead and read the resolution.
Resolution awarding the contract for the construction of Fire Station 63 to Graybach LLC.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Goodyear?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Ori?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Ping?
Yes.
Mayor Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Resolution 77 is adopted by a vote of 7-0.
Mr. Kennedy?
So I think in City Government 101, water utility rates, they're called enterprise funds. You know, they tell you at your first class, those are enterprise funds. You run it like a business. French fries cost more, you increase the price. Water costs more, you increase the price. I would say the city doesn't necessarily follow that narrative to the T, because we obviously take in great consideration of our impact on our residents and our business owners. So I am not here to pat City Council on the back, but Finance Director Mark Mailer and I, and Chris has seen it too. If it weren't for the WMR fund that you passed in November of 2022, we'd be having a whole different conversation right now. It certainly wouldn't be a 3% rate, or we would certainly be talking about projects that we weren't able to do, because you have to remember that when it comes to water, as we'll say with stormwater, they're a part of a lot of projects. So let's just take this summer, for example. If it weren't for the WMR, we would not have the sidewalks of Loveland Miamiville Road Phase 2. We simply, if your commitment was not to take additional debt, we would not have had the water fund portion of that, which the water fund portion of this particular phase this summer was $202,000. And Misty wouldn't have got her sidewalks. So, but the Cherokee water main project, of which the city received $745,000 for, still requires a $210,000 match from the city. So not only would probably the largest water main project that Chris is running for the city not occur, we would be turning down 745. Because if you recall, when we did this WMR, one of our pledges was it was going to make us more competitive with grant applications. And that's case in point with the funding we received through Congressman Landsman. That's case in point. So with that in mind, the reverse of that is you're averaging about a $23,000 to $24,000 decrease over the next decade in your debt funding. That impacts the water ops and the water cap fund and allows you more money to do stuff. But we're not there yet by any means. looking ahead just a little bit, in next year in 2025, the West Loveland Streetscape project that Chris and Kelsey just submitted, the water WMR fund will be $89,000. The Loveland Miamiville Road Phase 3 sidewalks, which is the end of this, takes it to Huntington. The WMR fund is $396,000. And the biggest of the next massive water project, which we hope to be going back for federal funding, is the Tuscarora project. That's a total of 1.9. I'm not able to tell you what the water portion of that fund is. So you're taking care of your water cap funds, your water main replacements. And I will say the city only uses the WMR for construction. We've not used any WMR money for the design part of any water projects. It's all for the physical construction. So to this point, there's only been a $202,000 withdrawal from the WMR fund, and it's growing and is perfectly in line when Chris is be bringing you guys the Cherokee project. The problem that we're facing right now is the other stuff. The operations of the plant, the pump stations, the towers. Looking ahead, if you recall, in late 2023 and 2024, for the process of 3 change orders, you guys agreed to $69,000 to totally rehab well number 5. Well number 5 is producing at a great level now, but we should probably be thinking ahead towards one of the other 2 wells. I did a little research. And Krista talked about it. We need to make updates to the Claremont County connection, which was largely a result of which we saw what happened during the big water main break in August. Now, that certainly, if that happened today, we have a way to make it operate, but it's not. It needs an upgrade, and you certainly know Claremont County is not going to pay for that. That's a city expense. We have other improvements that we need to do with the day-to-day, the stuff. Because if you remember, not only do we have all of those. Not only do we have 76 miles in water mains, we also have 4 towers, 2 storage tanks, multiple pump stations. If everyone recalls, I think we've submitted grant applications for the much needed generator at the water plant 3 to 4 times, and we keep striking out. At some point in time, the city's going to have to invest in the generator, the natural gas generator at the water plant. I was looking a little bit in just some conversations with Chris and Ricky, who are sort of really into the inner bones of the water system, the chemicals that the city uses to treat our water are just continually increase. Doing a deeper dive and looking at some of the bigger items, I look back in 2018, the city spent, I recall this, the city spent $783,000 for full interior and exterior painting of White Pillars and the Commerce Park Tower. So I know that I've been here a decade, and in that decade we've done White Pillars, Commerce, and Lever. So the key is to not ever miss a maintenance schedule, to stay with the pattern that we need to stay. And as the WMR does its magic, which includes a decrease in operating funds as we pay less and less in debt fund, that helps us too. Otherwise, as I said, we would probably be having a different conversation. So from a water standpoint, we keeping it at a minimum 3%. Certainly, I could have this whole conversation and make an excuse on why that number has to be larger. When I say we, Chris, Mark, and I spend a lot of time going through this. And what we do is we actually get a printout of the entire billing in a spreadsheet, and we put in the formulas, and we look at how it impacts all the different users in the system. And at the end of the day, a 3% rate increase would increase the average for the single family, which is our single units, inside city limits, 89 cents. Our Brandywine residents would be $1.35 they pay at a different rate. And then, of course, the balance of the money comes from some of our larger customers, our multifamily customers. We have quite a few multifamily customers, and that's where, admittedly, a larger amount of our water increase is recognized. And then, of course, we have outside city limit billings Those are largely single family. There's a couple duplexes that we fund out in the Sims Township area. They pay at a different rate, at a agreed upon rate, sometime before I got here. So all in all, we're looking at a total of around $63,000 in net revenue, which will go again towards the operating cost. We think this makes the, and we did, be honest with you, we did this to make, this makes the 2025 CIP balance. This is no influx. This isn't us rubbing our hands and going, this is going to be a ton of money. As you recall, the city, every dollar that the city gets, 60% goes into water op, 40% goes into water cap. So you can spread that amongst those items. So taking that one step further, stormwater. So the city first came up with a stormwater program in 2003. At that time, it was $3.50 per ERU. I did my best to explain what ERUs mean in the memo, but at the end of the day, every single family home is one ERU. All new construction, no expansions. City engineer Cindy, now Kelsey, calculates the ERUs, and that's how they're billed. That number goes to Lisa. So since 2003, when the city created the stormwater program, to 2011, when they increased it to 425, we've not had an increase, an ERU increase since 2011. If we increase it 50 cents, we're talking about a $52,000 savings. The stormwater fund is a little more unique. It's unique in the sense that it has less of what we talked about with the water, the chemical rates, the towers, but it is also a massive part of projects. Love of Miamiville Road Phase 2, it contributed $86,000 for the Cherokee project. It will contribute $33,000 for the West Loveland Streetscape project. It will contribute $75,000. Love of Miamiville Road Sidewalk Phase 3, the final phase, it will contribute $51,000. It also has a debt service. 2021 was the last time the city took debt. That impacted the stormwater fund for the Broadway stabilization project because it had a large amount of stormwater in that. Again, if we can keep funding the stormwater portions of projects while the debt rolls off, the net effect is more money for the fund, less need for rate increases to our customers. I think that's it at 50 cents. That's obviously straight up. John Q. Public would see a typical resident would see $1.39 between the two. Brandywine residents would see $1.85. So we're not doing this as any great impact. We realize that we put $7.50 on them in 2022. And so I think that's it.
Thank you. Any comments or questions?
I do have
Mr. Goodyear.
Mr. Kennedy, you know, obviously I live in the Brandywine subdivision, and the difference in the water rates has been a subject matter of concern for a lot of my neighbors here recently. And so if you wouldn't mind just publicly explaining why it is, and I understand this is not the city's decision, but why is it that residents of Brandywine pay a higher rate than other parts of the city?
So when the Brandywine subdivision went in, the city entered Western Water Territory, and by us entering Western Water Territory, the city had to do an agreement with Western Water, and the agreement with Western Water was that the city would pay 20% to Western Water of all revenues they receive. So every dollar that the city receives, 20 cents is cut is paid directly to Western Water. That 20% then is the city. Sorry, but obviously we couldn't take a 20% undercut. So the city's rates in Western Water is everyone else's, inside customers rate plus 20%. So then conversely, that goes up. Now in the legislation, we don't spell that because it's spelled out in other locations. Mm-hmm. I will say that, yes, so that it has to do with operations within the Western Water Territory. If you recall, when the development that was proposed up in the Grail property, we reached out to Western Water very early. Joe, city solicitor, and I, us and Western Water had agreed on a line and the number of homes that would receive a pay increase, and those that were solely in the city's territory. The city would then have had to designate, let's just say, 75 of the 216 proposed homes. They, within the same subdivision, they would have had a different rate. But that's the end of the day. I'm not saying anything negative about Western Water, but private water companies, non-governmental water companies, are largely funded by the FHA, Farmers Home Administration. So the Farmers Home Administration, from a governmental standpoint, puts things in place that assures the long-term payback on their debt, right? So with that is situations where they can create a water territory, and they do. The goal for the city, obviously, is we try to be as upfront with them when we see something. Just called Western Water the other day to say Claremont County Park District's building a restroom. Looks to me like it's in your territory. Their answer was, it's not worth our trouble. Right. But that's how that came about. I don't remember what year that would have been. I think it was maybe 2008. I don't know. Yeah. I can't remember.
So the bottom line is that when the subdivision was developed, the decision was made to get the water from the city. And as a result, there's an extra fee because it's within Western Water's territory.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. I just wanted to get exclamation in public because that's when the issue happened in August with the water main or the loss of water, and there's a lot of discussion about it, and that was part of the discussion. And there was a lot of concern, and I just appreciate the explanation as to why that is. Thanks.
Well, and Dave doesn't want to say anything derogatory, but I will say that this is just essentially a monopoly that has been given by the federal government to Western Water. So even if they have no ability to run lines to a property, they get money. Even if there's no way in the world they can water that area, if we do it, we have to give them money. So I've had more than one discussion with our federal representatives about this, and their eyes glaze over and they say, we can't do anything about that. So it's not something anyone wants to even attempt to deal with. That's why you pay more.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Yes, Mr. Hart.
I'm sure you said this, and the most recent most recent increase in unit cost for Loveland was when?
2022 was the WMR. At that point in time, actually, we were going to do a rate increase plus the WMR, and we decided not to.
When was the last time there was a rate increase?
Last time there was a rate increase, I believe, was in 2020. I'm not sure. I will tell you that in the past, and I've been here since 2014, what the city typically did, and we decided not to do that. I don't know if it's necessarily good for staff or for city council. This legislation would have said 3.3% in commencing in bills due January 2025 and 3.5% for bills due. They used to in the past, and I'm not saying it's a bad idea, but they go ahead and have a rate increase that kicks in over the next 3 years. Problem is that I don't know, we may need more. I'd rather just be transparent with everyone and say right now, looking ahead to 2025 budget, factoring what the WMR is doing, we think 3% is the right number. I'm not saying that we won't be back this time next year, but that will be based upon need, not a guess. We know what we need in 25. Chris and I have been working on the capital budget for months. We know what we need to get things fixed with pump stations, with chemical cost, and there's no fluff in there. But we may be back next October. But it'll be based upon need, and in full transparency, I think we'll have a better grasp of how PFAS plays out in all of this too. So with that in mind, Chris and I both felt that right now we would just go 3%, not try to spread this out over years.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Vice Mayor?
I just might throw out the observation, being, I guess, the longest termed member of council. I remember Rob Weisgerber ringing the alarm bell about our water fund and our annual debt service payments. The figure that's on page 26, it was so different 10 years ago because we had it going even higher. And if I recall correctly, the general fund would have to backstop the water fund, and that's something we've always wanted to avoid. And yet, 8-10 years ago, that was in jeopardy. So I think, with what we've done, which is reasonable and necessary actions, along with the new water main fund, we're in better control of our future with this. And granted, now we have the PFAS thing, but I'm confident we'll find a way through that as well. But thanks for your efforts over the past decade.
Anyone else?
Kind of doubled it.
Not yet. Anyone else have anything? Yes. Oh, Mr. Ping gets to talk there.
Just to comment on the notion of a 3% increase. Everyone's well aware of the inflationary pressures that have existed in the last year, 2 years, 3 years, and the notion that we need to raise the water rate when we have chemicals we purchase from outside and so forth. This is not something where all we do is have some electricity or whatever to pump some water out of the ground, and that's it. I mean, there are other costs, there are other expenses, and so to me, it seems very pragmatic that we would make small increases as needed and keep those as low as we can, but still keep the water system fully functional and operational. The worst thing we could do is not take care of these sort of things and then end up in 2 or 3 years from now having to look at a 10 or 15% increase because we're behind the 8 ball and now we don't have enough for this and that. We all, as we've acknowledged here this evening, we know that the PFAS issue is coming and that's going to have an impact on rates as well. And so it's better that we are honest with our residents about what's going on and make sure that we're increasing this as necessary than it is to try to hide these things and figure out some fancy way of getting around it. So I would also say lastly that I think it's a good thing that this money comes in such a way that it goes directly to the source of where it's used. It's not like we're throwing this into a general fund and maybe someday we'll need it. It's going directly into a fund where we can have it completely obvious to everyone that the money is being appropriately used. I think many people in our political environment right now get very upset about a lot of things that are happening simply because they feel like there's no control and they don't know what's going on and it's all just smoke and mirrors. I think Mr. Kennedy this evening has done a good job of explaining this in a way that's clear why we need this increase, and it's something that's necessary that we just have to accept and deal with. So certainly, I think this is a good way to go.
Mr. Goodyear.
One more thing I want to say is, I don't think anybody enjoys the notion of voting to raise rates in any way at any time, but I do appreciate the fact that when this request is made, that as you I think explained very well, that the request is for the minimal amount that we need to basically maintain operations in the appropriate way, and it's certainly not any way to raise additional funds that we don't need. And so I just really appreciate that. And if my math is correct, I'm not the best at math, but it seems like the rate raises generally going to be about $20 a year for the average person. So again, I don't think anybody likes raising rates, but that's not an exorbitant amount. And certainly, I think you've done a good job explaining why this is kind of a bare bones request, and I appreciate that. Thanks.
Anyone else? Yes, Mr. Ori.
Just one final comment, I guess. Looking at the chart, it's still, even with the increase, we're still going to be in the bottom third of 69 districts or water districts you reported on. Yeah.
Chris calculated.
So it's still a good price.
Yeah.
We're
17th. That is a pretty famous survey. And Chris calculated that if no one else of all the water systems increased the rates, we would go to 19th. Yeah. What's the odds that no one else will be it? So based on Chris' calculation, we'll go from 17th to 19th.
Out of what was it, 69 or 79 or whatever?
Yeah. Out of all those numbers. So yes.
Yeah.
All right. Anyone else? All right, I know Mr. Kennedy is agonized over this because while it seems minimal, it's not minimal to everyone, and any increase in paying anything, especially right now, is painful. So he's not happy about having to come to us to ask for this and to us to put this on our residents, but this is responsible. All right, want to go ahead and read the legislation. This is just a first reading.
Ordinance amending Loveland Code of Ordinances, Chapter 111, Schedule of Fees, Fines, and Other Charges to revise fees charged for water and stormwater utility services.
Thank you. Mrs. Clark.
So every year I take the legislation that's been adopted by council and I forward that to the Walter Drain Company. And they look at the ordinances that have been adopted by council or amended by council to make our code updated. So we do that on an annual basis. And in addition to that, they also take into consideration state laws that have changed. And if you look at the ordinance, you'll see that there have been changes to the traffic codes and the general offenses code. So like I said, we do this every year. We come to council for approval to have those pages approved so we can place the order and get that in and update our code book online and in paper. We submit it to you as an emergency because all the legislation has already been adopted. So it just moves the process along a little quicker. But if council would like to have 2 readings, that would be fine as well.
All right. Any questions, comments? All right. We'll go ahead and read it.
Ordinance to approve current replacement pages to the codified ordinances of Loveland and declaring an emergency.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Ori?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Ping?
Yes.
Mayor Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Mr. Goodyear?
Yes.
Ordinance 78 is adopted by a vote of 7-0.
Mr. Kennedy, I believe you wanted to do an update on projects under city manager.
Yeah, we were just, the mayor and I were talking that over the last few days, 3 pretty significant projects were just completed. The realignment of the city hall parking area, which I hope sort of all makes sense now with the sidewalks, the channeled entrance into up Harrison, the creation of, I mean, you talk about something that is adding safety both for vehiculars and pedestrian traffics. You don't have people with kids walking down the middle of railroad, Ram trucks sticking halfway out. I think this made sense to do this. We have to make decisions along the way. We will be bringing this back to you. That our original price, remember, if you recall, we put the City Hall parking realignment into the road program that did not include lighting. We decided that was an opportunity we had to take advantage of. So all the conduit, all the lighting, everything was placed in from the barbershop all the way around Harrison. So I'll be coming back to council for a change order on that. That was a hard number to get the final one. We're working with a local electrician, Trevor, who does the city right every time. So it's top notch. You'll see all new lighting. That project, I really hope it made sense. It did net 7 new spaces out there. It's just an all in all better flow, safety, and so on and so forth. Public Works put up the signs today, so pretty excited about that. I'll be back with that project, a change order on that, so we can get that bill paid. And then East Loveland, I think I don't know that there's been a project I can say in my 39 years that has impacted a group of residents like this one has. I mean, part of it was just simply due to the fact that you're dealing with a detour that just was ridiculous, but it is what it is. You're not putting in a road. Today the traffic signals came down. So for something that started on January 14th, that was originally scheduled to be done by mid-August, August 13th, is now basically completed. There's some finalized work that'll largely be done through some flagging and so on and so forth. I talked to Chris and I were out looking at the parking lot, and one of the residents drove by today and was talking about the project. And of course, Councilmember Bateman's lived through that. You'll see a few things. The railing will be match what's up on West Loveland. That can't get fabricated till the end. It has to be a specific site, so that's all been done. The city is actually putting in a brand new East Loveland Nature Preserve sign that will be set back sort of up against the bridge, which, let's face it, is a very attractive bridge in the world of bridges. I will tell everyone that if it wasn't for the replacement of this bridge, we may be building a fire station that wasn't going to be able to make right turns, because during there was some fear that the next bridge inspection was going to decrease the weight limit on that to a point where that would have been interesting. But that's all for not now. The West Loveland project, maybe not as burdensome by any stretch with the East Loveland residents say, but one of the more visible projects that is pretty well wrapped up on the 7th and 8th. They did the coring that's through the parapet wall to allow the conduit to be installed. That's why the barrels are still up so they can pull them off when they need to work on the north side. Remember, the city asked for the upgrade in the lighting. On October 10th and 11th, they'll be in the evenings, they'll be installing all the conduits. That will set us up for Duke to come in and put in the lights that the city included. That's why you see 2 temporary lights on both ends of the bridge, because you can't have a pedestrian bridge without any lighting. So that will largely wrap up that project. The mayor and I were talking about the paving on that project, and I'm not trying to be snarky, but and I'm not making fun of Hamilton County by any stretch of the imagination, because that bridge is actually owned by both Hamilton and Claremont. But that project has been in the works for so long that when it was originally designed, we had just paved it a couple years ago. So paving was not included in the scope. Now you're all these years later, and I called the county and I said, is there any extra money that we can pave it? And they reminded me that, do you know how long we've been working on this? And it was you, they said. It was really Scott. You said you just paved it and it didn't need to be included. And I will say that project initially, if you recall, because Kathy was able to get some money from county engineer, had skyrocketed and some things had to be cut. So paving would have. So what Chris and I were talking about, there's 2 options to get that paved. One would be as part of a road program next year. 2 would be just an expansion of the West Loveland streetscape project. So we'll get back to you on that, but it is our goal to have that completely repaved. So I think that's an update on the 3 that were just completed.
Thank you. Anybody have any comments or questions on this? All right. I don't think anybody's sorry to see construction season ending, at least those projects. All right. So I've got memo in here, committee appointments, with Julie Robinson being hired. She needed to resign from the Arts Commission and the Hill Wagner Cemetery Preservation Committee. So with this memo, I'm asking that you affirm the appointment of 2 individuals to fill those unexpired terms. And then we have an individual who moved out of the state, leaving a vacancy on the Board of Tax Review. So I'm asking for an appointment to fill that partial term that will end on December 31st of this year. So what I'm asking for is a motion to affirm the appointments as noted on this memo.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Ori?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Ping?
Yes.
Mayor Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Mr. Goodyear?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
All right, announcements. As part of National Fire Prevention Week, LSFD will have an open house tomorrow from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Sims Safety Center on Weekly Lane. You want to add anything, Chief? No. Leap into legend and join us for the Return of the Frogman event on Saturday. You heard all about that. Also on Saturday, October 12th from 1:30 to 3:30, Life Food Pantry and our Loveland police officers will be on hand at the pantry to collect food for the community as part of Faith in Blue Weekend, which facilitates safer and stronger communities by engaging law enforcement officers and residents through the connections of faith-based organizations. A list of the pantry's current needs can be found on the city's Love and Life Loveland website. And don't forget to go to that website, sign up to receive emergency routine and severe weather alerts from the city. Does anybody have any other announcements? Yes, sir.
Just real quick. Saw a Facebook post this morning about the flag at the Linda Cox parking lot was in pieces and flying in different, just worn out. And so I sent Dave a text, and just within 2 or 3 hours it was finished. It was a new one was put up. So
very nice.
Recognize
Sean Hartness,
the thoroughness of our city manager.
Very good.
Sean Hartness did it. I just forwarded Neil's thing to Sean. He's really a top-notch, really been a wonderful addition to this city. Sean Hartness, he's our Assistant Public Works Director.
Anyone else? All right. How about a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Vice Mayor Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Ping? Mayor Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Mr. Goodyear?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Ori?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.